Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome back to the show. I've been following with great interest over the years different studies that either try to link or show that there is no link between cell phone use and brain cancer. I know, Lewis, this is a big topic for you as well. Mm-hmm. And the World Health Organization has put out what some believe to be an original study. What it actually is kind of an opinion of the variety of studies that have been done over the last few years about this topic. Now, on the whole, these previous analyses did not show a link between cell phone use and possible increased cancer risk. The WHO has decided after this analysis to list mobile phone use in the same carcinogenic hazard category as lead, engine exhaust, and chloroform. So this is a significant change on the overall assessment, although, again, it is not original research. It does not represent a new study into the issue, is my understanding.
Right.
Now, something I want to bring up right away is let's keep in mind the money trail on this. If we look at the results of studies commissioned by cell phone companies and manufacturers compared to those commissioned by others, in other words, those who are not in the wireless industry, should we be surprised, Lewis, that the studies that are commissioned by the cell phone companies much more often show that there is no risk, that there is no correlation?
Of course not.
Absolutely no surprise to me. But what this is telling us is that even when you hear about these studies, you can't just assume that you're actually getting, even though doctors were involved, even though this was a scientific test, we are seeing a huge discrepancy between those studies that were asked for or paid for or commissioned by cell phone companies and those that were not. What do you think?
I think that's the way it goes with everything.
Chairman of Neurology at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in LA, Dr. Keith Black, said, "The biggest problem we have is that we know most environmental factors take several decades of exposure before we really see the consequences." So this is obviously the issue. We don't have that long of an observable period where there is such heavy cell phone usage, not to mention that the cell phones that were being used at the beginning of the cell phone era actually were quite different than those today. In many cases put out more radiation. In many cases were built completely differently. So even if we did go back to, 20, 25 years ago when the first cell phones started to be developed, and just looked at those people, if they used them heavily, we're still not going to get great information because cell phones now are so different.
Not too different.
The type of radiation that comes out of a cell phone is called non-ionizing. It's not like an X-ray. It's more like a very low-power microwave oven.
Right.
And the other issue with cell phones is that they emit the most radiation when they're attempting to connect to cell towers. So if you have a moving phone or you're in an area with a weak signal where the phone is searching for a signal much more actively, that increases the amount of radiation. So that's another factor. The study shows a pretty clear correlation between cell phone use and glioma, which is a type of brain tumor. It does not actually show causation, but we have to say, what other factors that are common to heavy cell phone users that are not cell phone use itself could be contributing to brain cancer? I can't think of any. I think Natan has some thoughts on this.
But didn't they also find that gliomas, like newly diagnosed cases, are actually down, despite the fact that there's a connection between gliomas and cell phone use?
I didn't see that as part of this study. That may be true.
Oh, because I read that as like something that's also true. So I don't know if that's true, if there are other things that are mitigating the effect.
That's the question. In other words, if we see this correlation, but we can't say that there is a cause, let's investigate what other factors they may be. Also, bear in mind that there is a variability in the distance from the head that you have your phone. Most manufacturers will tell you that 1/2 inch to 1 inch from your head is where you're supposed to hold your phone. Now, let's be honest. I have my phone here. I'm trying to recreate. When I talk on the phone, I basically have the phone completely up against my head.
Mm-hmm. I think most people do.
I don't think I hold it out.
Especially if you're in a noisy area, you're trying to hear better.
I should what?
If you wear the headphones when you talk on your phone, that's probably a good distance.
I don't even have headphones. I do in my car. I have Bluetooth. I mean, I'm wearing headphones now. I'm
what I
saying
mean.
I don't have like a Bluetooth thing. In my car, I have the Bluetooth thing, so I can just leave the phone on my center console.
Yeah, you're still getting bombarded by waves when you're using Bluetooth.
You know, the other thing to think about is, number one, text messages don't seem to have this negative effect, at least not on your head. But the obvious question there is, if you have a phone in your pocket 24 hours a day, the way that I do, is that affecting any other possible reproductive issues? Some things I've read say yes.
I think there's firm evidence.
And we don't have, what's that?
I think there's firm evidence that it causes infertility.
That's what I've read.
No. That's I don't know if that's actually
No, I've read some studies that very anecdotally, people did sperm count tests, and within weeks of moving their phone to an armband, they actually had significantly higher sperm count.
Yeah, I mean, the studies that should be going on are what are the effects of microwave radiation on people? And it's coming from all sorts of places. It's not just cell phones. Is it crazy to think that when you're cooking any part of your body with microwave radiation that it might cause cancer? I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. I think it can.
What would it take? What kind of a study would it take for you to not use a cell phone anymore? In other words, if a study came out, imagine, and it said, you know what? Anybody using a cell phone is
at risk.
Is going to have cancer within the next 2 years. I mean, just imagine that. Would that get you to just stop using your phone altogether? Are you just too addicted to it? I mean, what would it take?
If there was indisputable proof that
Just imagine there were.
Of course I'd stop. I think everyone would stop using cell phones if that were the case.
Would they?
Yeah. You're telling me there are people who would just gladly take cancer for the convenience of cell phone use?
Some people
Brain
are pretty
cancer?
addicted to cell phones.
I don't know about that. I agree with you, but I don't think they would take cancer over not using cell phones.
All right. Well, I don't know. I mean, for me, this is already. I'm going to try to at least keep the phone further from my head.
I don't usually keep it in my pocket.
Right.
I don't talk on the phone much to begin with. I don't have long conversations. I'm not worried
We know
about
that.
it.
We know Lewis isn't much of a talker.
No. I'm not worried about it at all. But I think people who keep it in their pocket 24/7, people who are always on it, not a good thing.